Hello, hello, this is Matthew of Luminous Beings Books. Welcome to another edition of, hold on, there we go, okay, of Shadowfont 5. This is about a month old at the time of this recording. It's a collection of Star Wars comics, Marvel Star Wars, the main line, and it's called Out Among the Stars. That's the subtitle of it. And apparently it collects issues 33 through 37, which is important. This is the writer, artist, and colorist generally. You got Jason Aaron, Salvador Larroca, and Edgar Delgado. So I've been wondering about how to make good team-ups recently. And interestingly enough, this features team-ups almost exclusively. So it's Rebels in the Wind. It's a a Luke and Leia team up, and they're surviving a deadly encounter while being marooned. And then the next one is a Lando Calrissian and Sana Starros team up, and I would say Lando surviving a scam she's running. Apparently she's a smuggler of smugglers. She was born on Nar Shaddaa, which is the big smuggler planet in Star Wars. And then, I don't know necessarily, I guess I would call this, Han and Chewie are a team. And it's about them transporting this Hutt, Gracchus, who's a buff Hutt, with mechanical legs. Anyway, kind of crazy. I like the craziness going on in these Star Wars comics. Anyway, for the most part. But, yeah, it's kind of a team-up between the two of them, and good, interesting twists. Actually, I think all of these kind of have a theme of there being twists and turns in them, so pretty interesting. There's even some references to a character from Rogue One in this one, so that's neat. And then this one with R2 is actually not, it's called Revenge of the Astromech, that's funny. It's not a team-up, it's about him going and rescuing 3PO who'd been captured by these elite stormtroopers who are, these elite stormtroopers. And then it's about, then there's an issue of the elite stormtroopers massacring people, and the rebels burying them and promising to fight. Then there's a little short, which I'll gloss over, because it was really just about sand people, not that they're not important. And then the last one is a Han and Leia. And I think it was on Stray Thoughts I was mulling over how exactly to make a team-up between all the different characters in the Tales of Luminous Beings, and it made me think that, these Star Wars comics, they're telling stories where there's a team-up happening between all these different characters, and actually it's kind of similar to an ambition I have. I guess, though, so this is Shadowfont. I'm supposed to be talking about my inspiration. I was inspired by this, honestly. I thought, wow, they're doing neat little stories. There's the Luke and Leia story. There's the Lando and Sana. There's the Leia and Han. And there's the Han and Chewie. And I guess what I learned from those, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I think what I want to start on is, I guess, the good and bad. That's kind of what I've done for Shadowfont, as I've talked about the best things and worst things. I don't really like some of the art in this, but that's not what I'm really caring about. I'm more interested in the stories. So a good takeaway from this Luke and Leia book or issue, it's a one shot, so that's really cool. Another good thing about these, they're all basically standalone stories, little standalone stories, and I think that's really nice. They touch on other ones, like stuff from the Leia book by Claudia Gray. Leia, Princess of Alderaan, is referenced in here. Leia talks about the freedom of running away, and I'm going to say one criticism. I didn't realize at first that this was about Leia. There's these square, rectangular speech bubbles, or thought bubbles, really, and they're kind of like a voiceover, you could say, and they have a narrative thread while all this stuff is going on, taking you through different stuff happening with Luke and Leia as they're marooned on this planet for weeks. And it wasn't until here, for sure, on the second page, that I knew it was actually talking about Leia. And honestly, my first reading through, it wasn't actually until it says, "My family's dead, my planet was blown up." that I realized that it was actually just talking about Leia. Look at that really cool shot. Anyway, that's super cool. But yeah, so like something interesting with this one is it takes Leia and Luke and it puts them very much out of their element. I gotta pause real quick. Okay, so phone call's over. Hopefully I don't get another interruption. Man, I don't remember what I was saying about this. Let's see. Oh, so these are all standalones, and that's great. So I want to be able to write team-ups that are standalones. I think that's an important takeaway from this. And I was griping about how I didn't know it was Leia until a while through. I like that it was Leia-centric, and she ends up kind of saving the day in a really interesting way. And there are some interesting creatures or aliens, other sentient beings that they meet here. I don't know, there's a lot of cool stuff. I guess I'm going to show this. This is cool. They've got this walker coming out of the water. I think something kind of in the zeitgeist of Star Wars fandom, or at least certain folks who do podcasts and whatnot, is this concept that Star Wars is always pushing the envelope and always showing new things in every installation of it or every iteration of it. And I think that's interesting. I think that's probably an exciting thing to do. So I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind too. These are showing different types of troopers, but that's not really something I care about for the purposes of my writing. I guess, anyway, this is really cool. I never knew Leia was an archer, and that's a cool thing. What's really neat about that is that if you think about Leia overall in all of Star Wars, yeah, that she wouldn't use a bow and arrow, but I'm sure just like the Wookiees have bowcasters, there are still archery is still a thing in the galaxy far, far away. But this tells me it is, and this hadn't been talked about before or referenced at all before, which one could say is a plot hole, but then I think that's being a little reductive. I don't know. The world can always be a little bit bigger. There's always room. Maybe there's always room for a little more variety and a little more interest. So maybe that's something to take away. Don't be afraid to push the envelope and to change, or to keep adding things. Not to change things, but to keep adding things and to make things surprising. So that's something. And I really liked it. I thought this was a really good story. So this Sana and Lando one was just crazy. There's just so much going on in it. I thought it was interesting for all the twists and turns, and while I don't necessarily want to write anti-heroes, I enjoyed what they did with Sana here. Let me see. I wasn't super into this Han one, but I'm not really a Han guy, so I'm not going to say anything about that really. This Revenge of the Astromech. Let me see. I don't know. I don't know that we even get into R2's head at all. Everybody underestimates the droid, which is kind of funny. Maybe things like that. Maybe that's something to hold on to. Perception of people in the world that you're talking about, that you're going over. I don't know. Not sure. Let me see. I really like this this Han and Leia one, mostly because I liked the insights that were in it to Han's past and to who he is as a person, who he was as a person, and it's a nice reminder of his growth, kind of showing him being haunted by something in his past, and that's a fun way to do things. And there's a forward-moving story because somebody has come to take vengeance against him, and it's based on the fact that he had, in an earlier part of his life, had made some really big mistakes, and I don't know. I think that's something fun to play with. Being able to tell, especially because they're not going to go back to that specific period in Han's life for a story or a one-shot, it seems. But what's being done here is while Han and Leia are on this mission together, they interact with somebody from his past. And I think that's a pretty novel way, or it's a smart way. Not that it's necessarily novel. I'm sure that kind of thing gets done all the time. Isn't like Lost that pretty much all it is? Things going on right now, and then looking back to the past and stuff that happened with the characters. I never saw it, so I wouldn't know, but that sounds about right. So that's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Just something I hadn't thought about before. So, I don't know, man. There are different art styles in this book, obviously, because different artists did them. I don't really want to comment on the art because it's not my forte at all. I will comment on the fact that I don't like that they keep putting Lando in the Empire Strikes Back costume. I think that's a little silly. Especially I'm right now going through the Lando Han book, Last Shot, and they talk about all his different outfits. But no, even when he's a little older, like post Return of the Jedi, they talk about some of his different outfits too. So I don't know. I don't really want to get too much into it, get bogged down. I really like this. Anyway, so I think the best thing about this was that there were one-shots that paired characters together. Leia and Luke, the pairing between the two of them, what did that really mean? Or what did it really serve? I think it allowed Leia to be herself in a way that she isn't free to be herself with Han because of the romantic tension between them and because of what a jerk he is and stuff, and where the arc of their relationship right now. They couldn't have had them together and had the same dynamic and the same revelations about her, I think. And the Han and Leia one, she kind of pushes him to reveal things about himself, and that was pretty interesting, especially in contrast to the revelations we got into Han during the Hutt run, where it was him and Chewie and a captive they were transporting. And anyway, just their interactions with Gracchus, and what Han tells him at the end and what he does at the end with Gracchus. Not really sure those square, but I think standing alone, separate from each other, they work, and I barely even notice if there's a bad match between the two in this collection of the graphic novel. So, I don't know. In the Lando Sana one, it was just kind of exposing me more to who Sana is and how crazy she is, and she actually features in Last Shot as well, and her in Last Shot matches very much with the Sana in this book, so that's good. Anyway, I'm basically being affirmed that mixing different characters together in different circumstances is going to give you a good opportunity to get to know them better and to express different things with them, and that it's okay to kind of sweep aside everything else. Because I don't know why Luke and Leia are lost, but they're lost and marooned on this planet for a while, and I don't know when this is taking place with Sana and Lando, but it kind of doesn't matter because of the way the story's told. The Gracchus thing, I could fit it into the timeline, but it doesn't really matter because of what happens with the characters is more interesting. Again, I didn't really care for the droid one. Stormtroopers Massacre, Sand People. The Sand People one is interesting, especially because old Ben is in it, and it's got something going on with him. And then this Han and Leia one, it's like, I think it's them looking for a base or whatever, but that's all just set dressing, and it's a excuse to get the characters into a situation so that we can learn more about them and explore them a little bit. And I think that's important to know, that I should just let go of certain expectations or let go of certain requirements and just feel free to set up a scenario, put the right characters in it for the most impact, and just let it go. So that's all I have to say. If you enjoyed this, please go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and once you've subscribed, go ahead and ring that notification bell so that you will get notice every time one of these is released. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching and possibly listening. And until next time, be well.